1900.
Liz, are you our secretary for today? Thank you for that. We all set?
We're all set.
Thank you. Good evening and welcome to the Planning Board meeting of Tuesday, February 20th, 2024. The meetings are on Milford TV and we are live. With that, I'll open the meeting and entertain a motion for the meeting minutes from our last meeting, which was February 6th.
Make a motion, we approve the minutes of February 6th.
Motion by Babe to approve the meeting minutes from February 6th. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Chris. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor will signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous at 4. Liz, do you want the sign sheet? Thank you, Joe. We have 181P on the agenda. Veronica Camara, 7 Florence Street. Did you have a chance to look at it, or Larry look at it, Liz?
Yeah, Larry had already looked at it with my team, and he was fine that it's ready for signature.
I believe this has to do with the ZBA approval of a subdivision.
Yes, sir.
This is
Any
the-
questions?
To the left. That's the house, yep.
If there's space, we can let them build.
Exactly. Yeah, my only question, and it just for clarity, was there, it does show a fence there, and just to ensure that the fence gets removed, that it doesn't go over the property line, because the property line, the new property line will go down the center of it.
That shed is,
Yeah, the shed, so we are in talks right now with the, we can remove it, we can leave it there, whatever kind of, whoever wants to do with what. It's,
Did it get, there was nothing in the decision from the ZBA about the shed?
no.
I think I saw it either.
I'm sure the shed's going to be an existing non-conforming use when they come for a permit, if it stays.
it really should have
Yeah.
been in the decision.
Yep, it should have been, otherwise you're coming back or you're taking it down. But that's neither here nor there, it's an 81P. Right. Any other questions from
Anything
the
about the driveway, either? The driveway is, it's not that it matters.
Why would you ask questions like that? Any other questions from the board? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to have Larry sign the 81P, or we can sign it later.
You can sign it.
Yep.
I'll motion that Larry has the authority to sign the 81P for 7 Florence Street.
Motion by Chris to have Larry sign the 81P. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Babe. Any further discussion? Hearing not, all those in favor will signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous at 4.
You're all set. Either Larry or Maria should give you a call tomorrow. Does not matter.
Unless you want.
You can leave them. I'll recycle them.
Thank you, everybody.
Yep, happy to. Continued amended site plan for 146 South Main Street. We have a letter requesting an extension to our next meeting of March 5th. Any discussion from the board?
I did speak with the traffic engineer, so just wanted to let you know that. he's
They sound
there,
like they're
and he-
gonna-
And he was asking, what you guys were looking for, so
So there is a good chance that they may have something by the 5th?
maybe.
Maybe. Do I hear a motion to grant an extension to 3/5/2024?
A motion to continue 146 South Main Street to 3/5/24.
Motion to grant the extension to 3/5/2024 by Chris. Do I hear a second?
I'll second that.
Seconded by Joe. Any further discussion? Hearing not, all those in favor of granting the extension to our next meeting of March 5th, 2024, will signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? It's unanimous at 4. Amended site plan for 79 Prospect Street. I'll read Larry's letter in. Come on up. What I'll do is I'll read staff's letters in, and then you can give a presentation on it. Sure. Applicant requests amended site plan approval to expand the existing daycare center to also occupy the second floor of the subject property. This will replace the existing upstairs apartment. The child daycare was originally approved in 2018 for the first floor only, replacing the then non-conforming hair salon. The off-street parking was approved at that time to be configured substantially as exists today. No building additions are being proposed, and the parking striping will be refreshed as shown on the plans. All applicable zoning and site plan requirements appear to be met. Therefore, I recommend approval as submitted. That was from the town planner. Town engineer has no concerns with the existing daycare facility expanding to the second floor. The fire department. The Massachusetts Comprehensive Fire Safety Code has requirements for dumpsters and containers with an individual capacity of 1.5 cubic yards or more. They shall not be stored in buildings or placed within 10 feet of combustible walls, openings, or combustible roof eave lines. This comment is in reference to the proposed dumpster. I asked the planning board to consider the installation of bollards for each parking space to protect the building's occupants in playscape area. And Board of Health has no issues. And the Water Department sees no conflicts. With that, I'll turn it over to you for
Okay, thank you. Just for the record, John Federico with Guerrier and Hellman. Pretty much we were proposing to essentially restore the site to what was approved back in 2018. I know originally there was supposed to be a parallel stall here to keep everything within the property that didn't get striped as such. It is extremely tight site for everything there. In terms of our parking calcs, which is kind of one of the bigger factors there, we were able to justify what we had using, I believe it was 5% of the overall students, and essentially that's just being used for pickup and drop off. Talking with the applicant and the property owner, essentially it's not like it's going to be somebody parking there, staying an extended period of time, and after looking at a lot of the students that have been staying here, they have been running on a very typical spacing of anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes, so we're not necessarily intending for any of those spaces to get backed up there. Regarding the fire chief's comments regarding the dumpster location, that was something that we had shown back in 2018. I'm not sure if, with this being a commercial property, if the board might be amenable to maybe having the client pay for private disposal of trash, in which maybe they can use a smaller unit or anything there. But unfortunately, just right now with what we have for space, we're very limited on where we can have that located. So I'm not sure if there's any comments or questions that the board might have on that end for it.
So how far is that from the wall?
So right now, we only have about 10 and a half, so just a little bit over that, in between the existing building where the property line is there. We're just showing our standard dumpster detail for it. If we wanted to propose something smaller there, we could definitely do
There's no
so.
current dumpster there, so I don't think they need a dumpster. I don't know how big a 1.5, but
Not too big.
I believe those are like 3 by 3 or so, with maybe like a 4-foot height, give or take. And,
There's no place they can put one.
yeah.
Well, if it's less than 1.5, I think it can be next to the,
Yeah.
so that's,
When it's down to that size, I'm almost thinking that you don't need a dumpster.
well, I'm not sure that they really do. So I just think that for the purposes of the site plan, we should either have them put it down to a 1.5 or remove the dumpster. I don't. And I guess either if we have him check with the property owner. Or the,
Yeah, probably the owner of the daycare themselves as to what they would do if we don't provide a dumpster. I would assume they would just keep it inside, and whenever trash day is, they would end up having to have somebody come and pick it up. But, I mean, I don't know that, it really isn't, I mean, anything lower than that is effectively a wheeled trash can when you get down to it.
What's the, at the end of, the right-hand end of parking space number 5, what's that, how big is that area?
That area there, I mean, we might be looking at maybe like 3 or so feet.
Okay,
there.
that's-
It's too tight.
I can't go by this, so, okay.
Where does staff park?
So currently, staff is utilizing this area over here, and I am not sure if that's based on like a carpool or anything.
That's what I'm more worried about. I mean, you're asking for additional students, which means there has to be additional staff, and I'm like, okay, it's tight to begin with. You may have done your calculations, but
so the other thing I will tell you is that the handicap parking spaces aren't needed. Handicap parking space and aisle aren't needed by regulation because you're under 15 parking spaces. You're not required to have a handicap space. So if you wanted, you could, I mean, I guess you could even just leave the
Do they have one?
handicap, but they do. It is currently there. It's shown, point to the striping.
I thought that was,
If
The
you got-
standard 9-foot
Where they-
here, and then it's a standard stall size there
So
that has
where
handicap.
are they dropping off the kids?
Essentially, right now, people are just pulling into the spot, let the kids
Those
out,
two
and
spaces to the
then they
right.
just back right out and keep going at that point.
But isn't that where the staff parks?
So staff is being parked on the closest to the, I guess that's the northern side there, and then essentially anybody else
go all
is
the way into the
utilizing these
building.
other spaces.
Well, there's
there's
5,
multiples.
right?
They park behind each other. There's like 3 spaces
Well,
there.
2. There's 2 there, and then there's 5 altogether.
There's room for 2 on the property, but you can fit 3 cars.
That's what I'm saying. I'm sure there's 3 because they,
Stack.
Because the dumpster's not there.
I'm sure they need way more than 3 for the amount of students that are going to be there based on state requirements.
Well,
for-
that was my question, Joe, because they're not looking to expand the staff. They're keeping it at 4, and I don't see how that's going to work. They want one more parking space.
So
Keeping the
as
staff
far as
for.
the staff goes, I know staff that is being utilized currently on the first floor, from my understanding, they will move upstairs in the afternoon sessions. So I believe they will only be looking to have 1 additional staff member there. But as far as anything goes, if that was something the board's amenable to, we can get an extra space in there if we did have to eliminate the striping portion. We could also possibly talk to some neighbors or something, if that's something that's open as well, to maybe see if we can have a certain space reserved for staff only in that case. Not too sure, what the board might have for feelings.
Well, I guess, I guess I don't understand that, because you've got enough space to have more students, and I'm afraid that you're going to be using all your spaces for, when we finally get going and they're actually working, that there's going to be more teachers than what we're showing and approving here, and we have no way of monitoring that. I can't believe we're doubling our space, but we're not, we're adding a teacher. That just doesn't make sense to me. Doesn't make economic sense to me. Why would I do that? So somehow I get the feeling somebody's not telling me the whole thing here.
Yeah, I know, at least for what we've been informing the client, based on at least what we had for parking calcs at that point, they could reasonably fit in 40 students, so I know that's been the number we've been using as their overall cap. How that gets broken up with teachers or anything, if there's more people in the afternoon session, morning session, I'm not too sure exactly how those get worked out there.
I guess we, well, I shouldn't say that. I guess I would, before I could approve this, would need better clarification, because I don't think it's not functioning now. I think it's functioning now, but I'm significantly concerned as to how it would function in the future. I know, my granddaughter went to daycare and stuff, and the amount of teachers, student-teacher ratio is such that there's going to be a lot of teachers there, and I just don't see the spaces there for the teachers other than taking up what we're calling drop-off spaces, and that isn't what I want, because then I think we end up being in trouble with people backing out onto Route 140, or not even being able to pull in and then pulling over to the side on Route 140, which is even worse. I understand what we're saying about the handicap spot. I'd be worried.
I'm just saying it gives you one more spot. And really, it gives you two spots because the handicap spot isn't really technically open for people, so,
Yeah,
for most individuals. That's why That's why I believe they have a minimum number of spaces before a handicapped space is required, because, in reality, the spaces are all pretty close to the door.
Yeah, I'm more worried about, is there an issue where we could have a handicapped student that needs to get in, and then what do we do? I understand, and in terms of whether we need it or not, I guess I wonder about, is that possibility there, and then what happens if we take it out? That's my only issue.
Larry did say something like along the lines that he thought maybe they wanted it there. So I don't know if that, I don't know why they would have wanted it there, other than if they did think they would have a handicapped student.
Well, certainly, if they have a handicapped student, they're going to have to find a way for that student to be unloaded, and
Yes.
they have to be able to do that. So the question becomes, how often is that and all the spaces being taken? But I think, trying to think of how there's another way of doing it, and I'm not sure.
It's almost impossible to do it. Again, I do know the area very well. I would rather have the situation stand the way it is and have the handicap spot than to take it away. And the only thing is, they'd have to,
Yeah, it's a double-edged sword in a certain sense. It's a drop-off. It's a drop-off situation, which I understand, and by putting that as a handicap, we lose another parking spot for 95% of the time that it's not even being able to be used.
there is,
Considering it being a drop-off, I guess I would almost think that it may be more productive to leave the area such that a handicap van could drop off, but seeing how it's drop-off, don't sign it for handicapped, so that anybody can go in. If, it's your turn to drop off your kid's handicapped child, you can go into the space at least. And if there's other cars there, they can use the space, drop off, and get back out, so that it's available for everybody, but at least it has the area such that a handicapped van could be accessible.
just eliminate the, leave the striped area and eliminate the handicap sign for the
Right,
thing.
and the pavement
That's,
marking.
I think that's a great idea.
yeah.
That at least gives it-
That's about the only way you're gonna,
I mean, I'm trying to make sure people get to pull off 140. I don't want them out in 140 to the greatest extent possible.
It's,
Understood for that.
yeah, it is wide enough there that you could, if they had one car that had a queue on the side,
Yeah.
they're off 140.
Yeah.
When we mentioned about removing any possible signage there, the paint marking on the ground for the handicap symbol, would that be something you'd be looking to have removed as well? Or
Yeah,
that would
it's just be marked as a regular parking spot.
Okay.
Just leave it, effectively, you would leave an access aisle, so that if somebody actually were walking there, or
Yep.
somebody dropped off on 140, they would have the walking space to get through the area, and that walking area would be big enough that if a handicap van did pull into the site, they could use that area to drop off.
And I mean, I know we do have a little bit space over here as well. I mean, with this being slightly larger than, what your typical space might be looking at, I don't think it's exactly 9 feet. I think maybe in the field it might have been measured at like 9.5 or something. We might be able to possibly, if we're going to do any sort of restriping there, maybe be able to accommodate for that space as well, if, again, that's something amenable to the board.
Yeah, you can work that out, just, to make sure you have enough space that if a handicap van parked there, they could put the ramp down.
Sure.
The other thing, though, I really am concerned about the amount of teachers that are going to be there and what their actual plan is. If-
Having a floor plan of the existing first floor would help. Right, that's not in here.
No, I believe it was only included as second floor plan.
I didn't know if how it's broken up might help.
Well, depending on, I think you understand our concern. If you want to talk to G&H and the applicant in terms of how this is going to function, if we're really tight downstairs and we're not taking in more students or whatever, but I need to understand so if they show me a first floor plan that showed everything crowded in, and then a first floor plan going forward that doesn't see that, then that would certainly make me feel a little more comfortable. That not being the case, I mean, we need to, I need to be comfortable that in fact, the teachers that are going to be there have places to park, and that it's not out in front of the building.
Yep.
I don't, I think obviously we need to either down the dumpster size or go to, internal storage, but we can't show the dumpster like it is and approve it.
If the dumpster is that necessary, then they could put a non-combustible wall up where the dumpster is.
Yeah, I would guess they could probably do that. Although it's
If that wasn't necessary, you
It's-
could put a, yeah.
it's going to be a lot. It's going to be a lot of work though, because I think the eaves overhang on that side. So then you got to cover the eaves plus the wall. So you're going to be. I don't think they're going to want to do that.
No, I'm
It's
just,
probably 10 feet on all sides. So it would be a significant. Yeah, you got the
Yeah.
eaves up above. So you're going to have to.
yeah,
you'd have to try to
that's-
do
yeah, the
that.
overhang, yep.
And you got the windows. So I don't. I mean, you can do it, but it's not going to be easy.
Yeah.
So I don't know that that's the issue.
Yeah, it seems pretty likely to me that they don't need a dumpster that large.
Yeah. So I
Yeah, if
guess.
they don't have one now, then,
Yeah, I think we would need confirmation of that. You need to talk to the applicant about how they can handle that or not. I mean, I think we're amenable to not having the dumpster, but I want to make sure that we don't all of a sudden see a dumpster out there later on too, so we need to get confirmation from them on
If,
that.
for a size, the 1.5 or smaller size, if that works for the applicant, is the board okay with that size? I'm not sure if there's like a specific size requirement.
Yeah, at that point, I don't think there's anything that we,
yeah, 1.5,
anything that we can control really at that point.
a 1.5 is no bigger than one of the recycled
But, yeah,
containers.
You can go down Lowe's and pick up the biggest one they have on wheels, and that's going to be the size that you're going to be able to play with. That's what they have, exactly. So,
Yeah, I guess, chime in, certainly if the fire department has an issue with the dumpster, I have an issue with that. We also have to make sure that, they're asking to consider the installation of the bollards in front is another thing from the fire department, so they've raised some concerns. And then to Joe's point, when you start adding classrooms, I see two, at least at a minimum of 2 preschool classrooms being added on the second floor. The other 2 rooms are 3 classrooms, I should say, school age, preschool. The art room and the music room are kind of more specialty. So I could see that class, the preschool class is going to move to art or to music, but I see on the second floor adding 3 new classrooms with this no change in the employees. So it doesn't add up yet to me. And then when you look at parking, even when you start, if you are to add employees, if you look at the street view, you can clearly see the lines are horizontal, but the cars are perpendicular to it. There's one, and then the same with the aerial view. You can look at it, and there's 2 cars clearly perpendicular parked. So it just concerns me, even though that parking space number 5 is going to be restriped, that we're not going to deal with this. I know it's not our issue to enforce.
Well, that's what you're going to deal with.
But that's what it's
Yeah.
going to deal with all the time.
Right, that's what it's always going to be. Because what happens
Right.
is if you actually try to draw a parking spot, that parking spot extends into the right-of-way of 140.
Right.
Correct.
So
yeah.
it's in the right of way, which we honestly has been allowed in other areas. So, I mean, whether or not you guys want to allow the spaces in the right of way and have them be straight so that
Okay.
Well-
so that they match up with how people are going to use them, I guess would be.
In that
a
case
decision-
there, we might
a
be looking
decision
at,
you guys could make.
up to possibly 3 spaces versus just the 1 parallel in that case. And if that's something that we can still work in with the striping, I know we'll have more there, but if not, I can definitely talk to the applicant.
You'd have to tell me the answer to this one. If we change, what we have right now is what was approved before. If we change anything, especially because this is 140, it's actually Mass Highway controlled. So if we change anything, I believe you'd probably have to go to Mass Highway. Mass Highway won't let us show the parking spots that way. We've done that, yes, we've done that in right-of-way, but I don't think we can do it in state layout.
I would tend to
So
agree.
that's what's going to happen. You can do it however you want. People are going to park that way, but I don't think we have a way of doing it the other way. If we send it out, it's going to come back and say, no, don't do it.
So
How-
if we're not changing physically anything, I don't know that striping, I don't know that there's a review through Mass Highway for a striping change,
Yeah, I was thinking of that myself. I don't know that there is. There's no change in the curb cut.
Right, if they were changing the curb cut 100%, it would trigger.
How about if I make a motion that we approve it with the fact that with no dumpster, the bollards we put up in the play area, and in front of the, I almost want to put them in front of the building, but
I don't know if I want him, the only reason why, that's my recollection, and I was up here a lot, is that I think it's relatively narrow up there, the sidewalk's narrow. You put the bollards up again, talking about handicap accessibility, now we got to start checking all that to make
Okay.
sure it's there, so
put the bollards in front of the play area,
yeah, that I can,
take out the handicap spot, and only allow 2 employee parking spaces.
On the street. Is there street parking
you can't, there is parking in the heights, I
in
believe.
the heights, right?
was just gonna
If you
say.
turn the thing,
Yeah,
there's
yes.
street parking in the heights
So,
right there, yeah.
Right.
I know there's been a lot of people parking on that center island. I don't know if that's anything that you guys normally would have jurisdiction over or anything there, but at least just double checking what we have for parking count numbers here and,
Well, you can't use any of it. I mean, the applicant, that effectively is, or where we would end up going with, the applicant can only have 2 teachers parking in the place. They have to find off-street parking on one of the streets in order to do that.
I know right now for how our parking counts, we're breaking that out if the board finds that to be acceptable. That is providing for 4 employee spaces, and then the other 2 spaces is going for the drop-off there. I know that rate has been used with a couple other daycare filings. I believe one of them was near 109 in Milford. So I don't know if having, 4 designated employee spaces might help with anything there. And then obviously trying to accommodate some of those other adjustments as well, what the existing striping is in front of the building.
Do you think it'd be better to have designated spots for 15-minute drop-off spaces rather than designated teacher spaces?
Yeah, I mean, the ones in front of the building should be designated for drop-off only.
Right.
The one down the side can be permanent parking for teachers, to the left where they want to stack them, that's fine, because you can get an extra spot in there.
If you wanted to do that, you could have 1, 6, and 5 as the employee parking, because this way here, that parallel, you could actually use that parallel
As a parallel space.
space. And 1 and 6 are the ones behind each other. And then that'll give you 2, 3, and 4 for
Drop-off.
drop-off.
Well, I guess, I'd actually, personally, I think I'd like to continue this to the next meeting, because I'd really like to get an idea of what the anticipated student load is and teacher load is, because if in fact, which I believe we do, we're going to have to direct that employees park in available off-street parking areas and stuff, I want to make that as part of the decision. At least that's my feeling.
I'd like to send them out with some kind of a thing, what we,
Well, and I think that's where we're going, but I can't say that without knowing. I mean, it just, again, I just think something's missing in terms of them going effectively pretty close to doubling their area and adding 1 teacher.
Yep.
Something's not jiving to me, and knowing the amount of teachers that you need for the amount of students that we're talking about, that also doesn't totally jiving with me. It seems like you need a lot more than 3 or 4. So I'm significantly worried about that. So, I mean, I think if we can get a little bit of clarity on that, what you said with the parking, I think that, that works as to what's there. It's just, are we going to tell them, hey, after that, you've got to go find parking
yeah.
off-street, which is allowed in the area. There are off-street parking in that area, although you sort of hate to do that, although you do have the area, where Prospect Heights, that turnoff is, that doesn't, is really not affecting people immediately. In front of the houses and stuff, because sending them down Prospect Heights Road isn't, I'd rather not have people parking in front of there. It's those people park there to
Yeah.
begin with, but, that turnout right there, parking in that little area in there is not the end of the world for if there's a couple cars. The street's a different story. Anyways, that's my feeling. I don't, I think it's worthwhile to continue it and try to iron those things out.
Sure.
Okay, you kind of have an idea what,
Yep. If you wouldn't mind, if we could just quickly just kind of recap what Babe was mentioning for how to break out the parking, utilizing what we had here existing. It was, this side would have been for
1, 6, and 5.
for employees,
Yep.
and then 5 over here as well. for
Yes.
employees. Okay.
Yep.
And then we did say yes to the bollards along that end as well?
Yes.
Well, in front, yeah. Although, I guess if we're gonna use, I guess, Babe, that becomes a question. If we're saying that's teacher parking, and it's in that direction, do we need the bollards?
Becomes a safety
Yeah.
thing, right?
Well,
I mean,
the
it's
car
only,
is, the car is the,
well, it's only number 5, right? Space
Yeah.
number
Yeah,
5,
correct. Yeah.
which is actually horizontal.
Which is going to be,
Yeah,
it's
which is
not aiming towards the
Right.
Right.
towards the thing, yeah.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, looking at that, if you put bollards up there, it's going to cause more of an issue to us. I mean, there hasn't been an issue before. I understand where he's coming from.
No,
but
I definitely-
I'm not sure which is worse. I mean, if somebody wants to get by there and they can't, and we do have a handicapped student, if that does happen, there's no way that they're ever going to we're going to get the bollards in and get them by there.
I still question, well, in front of the fence, because even though you're going to be striped horizontally, you're still going to have parking as indicated here, so.
Yeah, well,
Personally, I would say the bollards in front of an open play area like that obviously a vinyl fence, plastic fence isn't going to retain a vehicle in the event of an accident. So I would just, my personal opinion is to put the bollards in, just for, again, for safety.
and again, I agree with you, but as Joe said, if that's a employee parking space, the employees are going to be there parking horizontally.
Right.
I mean,
And
self-policing,
then if
that's
somebody-
what I'm worried
and
about.
believe me, I agree with you, because if the employee leaves,
Yeah.
it leaves an open space. I mean,
Right, oh, I hope, yeah.
and safety is,
They barely have enough
Safe-
outside place. From my record.
Oh, really?
From my
2
rec.
feet? If you stole it 2 feet?
Yeah, you probably can't, because that's also state regulated as to how many students
Oh,
they
it
have.
is,
Yeah, I agree with that,
And
Chris.
they're going to be.
Just-
Definitely.
Yeah.
It's small. If we want the balls.
the bollards don't take up that much of a space anyway.
Yeah,
Yeah, with the
that's
kids
fine.
on the other side.
Yeah.
So, yeah, balls in front of the play area.
Take away the handicap spot. Take away the dumpster.
Okay.
Take away the dumpster or, yeah,
I'll confirm with the
Yeah.
applicant on that one.
yeah, well,
Or major construction. And,
Do you have a preference on the signing for either staff parking or drop-off parking or both?
I think we should have both.
yep.
And yeah, just to add to, just if there's going to be any plans to reconfigure for a floor, to understand any reconfigurations and the amount of employees as,
Yeah,
you know,
I
a
can
change on
definitely
that. So
inquire. At least initially, I don't believe that there's been any indication about modifying first floor. It'll only just be the second floor.
Yeah, I think even showing what the first floor looks like might, maybe it doesn't need to be done by an architect, but,
At least a rough
yeah,
sketch.
just so that we can see, yeah.
yeah, if they're going to reconfigure it and bring the classrooms upstairs, and that's why the employee count goes from 4 to 4, stays at 4. Okay, I can understand that, but when we're adding classrooms upstairs and the employee count stays the same, it just, there's something that I'm not understanding.
Yeah, so at least in terms of the employee counts, from my understanding for it, it's one employee for the 10 students at that point. I think right now they hover between like 15 and 20 range or just above that. So I don't know if there's any leeway on that side between 2 to 3 employees.
Well, the problem I have is I don't really care what they're doing now. I mean, if this is built out for 40 students or 50 students and they can put 50 students in, then the fact that they have 15 now doesn't stop them from having 50 in the future, and I got 5 people that need to find parking, and I need to know whether they're going or not. So that's the issue that I have.
Understood on that end. So we'll definitely make sure we get some clarification for that portion. All right. Thank you very much. I do appreciate your time tonight.
Technically, you had Babe's.
Make a motion, and we continue.
Well, you had Babe's motion first.
Withdraw your other motion.
I'll second that.
You withdrew the motion to withdraw his previous motion and to have this redone or extended to, let's see, March 5th? What are we, at? March what?
Gonna be March 5th the next.
Yeah, March 5th is next, I believe, yeah. So we'll put this on the agenda for our next meeting on March
Going to be
5th.
March 5th or the 19th.
I would think they should be able to get the answers for
Yeah,
the
no,
5th.
if
I mean,
we
2
can
weeks
shoot
we
for the
should be
5th,
able
that'd
to.
be
There's no, there's no drainage issues or anything else. It's just trying to figure out exactly what's going on.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much. I do appreciate that.
Yep. ZBA variance referral for the rear of McGill Lane, Kevin Meehan. I'll read Larry's. The applicant requests a variance from all frontage requirements to allow for the construction of a single-family dwelling on the landlocked subject property. The platting and replatting of the land between the subject property and McGill Lane is recounted in the application represents a long-term systematic attempt to subvert the subdivision regulations. On numerous occasions over the last 20 years, town staff has reviewed this issue and encouraged the preparation of a definitive subdivision plan to formally establish a street to properly access all of the property involved. The proposed request, if approved, will result in a 1,050-foot-long shared driveway that will not assure safe and adequate access to the properties it serves in the same manner as that of a subdivision street. Therefore, I recommend an unfavorable be forward to the ZBA.
I don't know, whatever you want to do. John Nannott, I'm here representing Kevin Mann and Gideon Cruz, they own the green as homeowners. Can I go up to the screen now?
Whichever you'd like, John.
All right. So I understand what Larry's saying, but I think Larry was under the impression that this was kind of a self-inflicted hardship. This lot was actually cut out and landlocked with the property in the back somewhere between 1909 and 1927. This is not a recent event. The original property in the front was 17 acres. Somewhere between 1909 and 1927, they cut out the 3-acre parcel and sold it to the people that owned the parcel in Hopkinton. So it's been landlocked since 1927. It's not a self-inflicted hardship that after zoning came into effect that it happened. The lot, it was always been accessible through a 8 to 10 foot wide cot path from as far back as I could tell, 1909 from Haven Street. They had a right-of-way on that cot path to access the 3 acres in Milford. It's 2.73 and 9.94 acres in Hopkinton behind it. They're two separate parcels in the deed. I did meet, Larry is saying there's a safety issue. I did meet with the fire department and the fire inspection services in Milford. They requested, they had no problem with the lot. They did request that we make a hammerhead large enough for fire apparatus. So in what I'm trying to say is we've been improving the overall safety of the entire neighborhood. These 3 lots that currently exist off this common driveway all have illusionary frontage on Haven Street. None of them access their lot from Haven Street. They all access from the common drive easement, as you can see, and this lot would be doing the same thing. When this subdivision was created, I have plans, but if you just scroll, can you scroll up a little, Liz? When this subdivision was created, only one lot had accesses through Haven Street. It was a 4-lot A&R plan that the planning board signed off on. They did go to ZBA on the access issue. And part of the decision at ZBA was they put a 30-foot right-of-way that it goes as wide as 50 feet in some places, and they moved where the cot path was to the center so they could put lots on both sides. So it is illusionary frontage. Putting another, and in that settlement agreement, which there's a copy at the back of your packets, they did have things spelled out if that lot was ever, if someone was going for a residential lot back there. So a couple things that they did spell out. They did spell out that nobody in the neighborhood could oppose building a lot there, that if that lot was a single-family home, it would be responsible for 1/4 of all the repairs on the road and plowing and stuff like that. So they already kind of included in this lot into the homeowners agreement for the driveway. So what that also does, it gives some relief to the existing 3 lots that now there's a 4th lot there that shares the cost of upkeeping of the driveway, because that is a pretty long driveway for just 3 lots to upkeep, plow, keep the pavement good. When you drive down it, it's anywhere from 28 feet wide to 26 feet wide during the whole length, almost the width of a regular road in Milford. It looks like a regular subdivision road. It acts as access as a regular subdivision road. We're not asking for 4 lots up here. We're asking for 1 single-family house. The main reason that we're putting it only in Milford is the lot drops off steeply to the left here. If you scroll down, Liz, now, sorry.
No, it's fine.
We got Maspinock Rod and Gun Club here. This is a quarry on this side, and it's all conservation land in Hopkinton behind it. So there's no houses around this whole place. The closest house, sorry, Liz, back up, is right here, and it's about 80 feet from just the property line. It's over 200 feet to where we're proposing the new house. Let me see this. Yeah, so, you know, the lot, like I said, the lot is steeply graded on this side. The back portion has a hot perch water table, so we couldn't, there's no testing available back here. I believe there's ledge down about 3 or 4 feet, and the water table sits on top of it. So nothing could ever be built on this back part, and when we sell this, we would sell this just like it is deeded now, parcel 1 and parcel 2 is one lot, so it'll be almost a 13-acre single-family lot in Milford. The frontage waiver won't cause any hardship to public because, like I said, the 3 lots all have illusionary frontage anyway. It's no different than the 3 lots on the road. It eases the financial burden. It improves safety by doing the hammerhead here for fire apparatus. You know, it's been, I understand, it's been a landlocked parcel since 1927. The land is useless unless it can be used for a single-family home. It's in the residential district. To make this road now a subdivision, the easement's only 30 feet wide. We don't have a 50-foot right-of-way that we can make a full road out of the thing. There's no problem with drainage up there or anything. I don't believe there's been any complaints on anything. If there's any questions, I just don't see much adverse problems for making a single-family lot back there. Another thing is it won't set precedents in town because it has so many specific items that are just specific to this lot. It has a right-of-way easement. It has lots that are not using the frontage on Haven Street that are using illusionary frontage. It's been like that since 1927. It wasn't a hardship that was self-created at any given time. That this lot was always landlocked. They added land to it. And like I said, it was sold out. I couldn't find the exact deed when it was sold out, but it was in 1909, the deed was 17 acres on the front piece. In 1927, it was 14 acres. And in 1927, there was also a new deed of this 3-acre piece to the abutting piece. I'm happy to answer any questions. I know Larry told me not even bother coming tonight, but I'm here. I don't think it overburdens the easement with one additional house. ZBA had kind of put that in their decision, and they went through the settlement agreement when they did the access, the access for these lots, that this could be used for a single or 2-family home. We're asking for a single family, wouldn't do a 2-family there. It's a beautiful house design we have. It's about 6,000 square feet. I think it would only add to the neighborhood.
Questions from the board? Only one question, the lot in Hopkinton,
Yeah.
it's going to be part of it?
Yeah, so it's going to be conveyed. Right now, it's listed on the deed as 2 parcels, parcel 1 and parcel 2. It would be conveyed with the lot. I think we would be fine putting a deed restriction that no more homes would be built up there.
How about, did you ever go to Maspinock, see if they,
We haven't. I don't know if they'd be interested in it, yeah.
well, I mean, for this raised safety and all?
What we're thinking with putting a large house there, that someone could have horses or something on the piece in Hopkinton, because this is the flat part of the lot. This is the hilly part of the lot, so once you get back here, this would be a nice place for a horse farm or, horses or something. So it would make a really nice kind of secluded lot in Milford. It would be good for the tax base, I believe. I know it has school-age students. But it's one single-family house. We're not doing a whole subdivision. We're asking for one single-family home on a 13-acre piece, which is not common in Milford.
Is there any way to do, this is a legal question, so I don't know that anybody's answer, but to do like an 81L, where it's, so like Patsy's Lane, that was it, but that was a paper road, which is typically how I've seen 81Ls function, is that you upgrade or you confirm the safety of the road, and you make it a private road as an actual subdivision road.
So we do have rights in that right-of-way easement, but I don't believe we have rights that we could change the homeowner's agreement or anything to do with those 3 lots. So I think that's what would be the biggest problem if we tried to do that. And like I said, the rights in that right-of-way were established in 1909. That right-of-way on that 8 to 10 foot car path out to Haven Street is there since 1909.
It's just one of, like, and legally, legally, the 81L allows you to turn a road that's always been used as a road, which is
Into a paper
clearly the
street.
case here,
Yeah,
into a real street, so.
I can look into it.
It's,
Yeah, you know, to me, it makes sense for you know, a large lot in Milford. Like I said, if those houses were accessing from Haven Street, and this would be like an individual, this didn't have all this thing going on so that it would set precedent somehow, but with the way this is set up, the only way it would set precedent is if another lot had all this stuff going on and they did the same thing. So it's kind of just an individual variance for the one lot that wouldn't affect other landlocked parcels in town, because I doubt other landlocked parcels have a right-of-way easement plus 3 lots that access off that right-of-way easement already. Can you go to the next picture? I just want-
We've seen some pretty good creative writing from lawyers.
I know,
So
I know you have.
I wouldn't go that far.
All right. Anyway, so can you zoom out at all, Liz?
Daniel R. Drive being one of them.
Hey, that was my subdivision, or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, so
That was the worst
one more
thing.
time, Liz, I show the whole lot.
Jackie Cutter.
You can see there's nothing anywhere near it. The houses on Haven Street are down around the road. It's just woods, and woods, and this would stay either woods, or somebody might put a barn up there, or a horse farm, but they would have to permit that anyway through Hopkinton. Right now, we're just permitting the parcel in Milford, the 2.73 acres as a single-family house lot.
Well, Joe, we're not extending it not much further than it is already, so.
I don't know that I was for the other one, so I probably am not for this one, but it doesn't matter what I say anyways.
So it's currently, this light gray pavement, it's currently paved right up almost within 10 feet of the property line. And then this is the pavement we would be adding to the house. Septic system to the left, well would be right off the house corner over here, 100 feet from the septic system.
So this is a recommendation to the ZBA.
It's a lot of,
Need I say more?
lot of conversation for a recommendation.
Well, I thought I'd give it a shot. That's all I can do.
I'm happy to make a motion to send a favorable recommendation to the ZBA for, want to make sure, for McGill Lane.
Motion by Chris to send a favorable recommendation to the ZBA for the lot at the rear of McGill Lane. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Babe. Any further discussion? Hearing not, all those in favor will signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 3 in favor, 1 opposed.
And I thank the board very much.
Last thing on the agenda is the comprehensive plan bus tour update. So last Friday, Selectman Mazzelli and myself, along with, I believe, there may have been 10 members of Metropolitan Area Planning Council representing various areas of expertise, the project manager, the assistant project manager, somebody from traffic, somebody from cultural, somebody from historic, community development, and I'm sure, I can't think of the others right now, but there were others along that took a tour of various areas of Milford. The map that's in your parcel is pretty much the route we took around town. I guess I'll give you a couple highlights. They were impressed with the amount of industrial base that the town had. They were impressed that, they felt that there was probably a lot of opportunity for people that lived in Milford to work in Milford. That, it wasn't just a bedroom community to 128 and the inner circle with Boston, that there were probably people living and working here in Milford, which they felt was good. We drove downtown, we went over, that was an area that we wanted them to make sure that they were cognizant of, and I tried to make sure that for us, I think the downtown extends further than what we normally think, and that really we're looking at, perhaps from the hospital all the way down to 16109, that we need to take a look at that whole corridor. We stopped at the Archer Rubber site, indicating that was probably one of the bigger available sites in town left, although there is very limited development there, with the Charles River being through the middle of that, and not really sure what the best use of that is, but that's certainly something that we were looking at. I tried to make sure that they were aware that the town is 95% built out. We have very little open space left for new development, and the thing that we wanted to make sure that this plan addresses is how do we get to higher and better usages, because we're going to be very shortly at a point where the only way that we can increase the tax base in the town of Milford is Prop 2.5 or an override, because we don't have new things coming on board that were undeveloped land that's going to all of a sudden be developed. Those, within the normal time frame of how long a comprehensive plan works, those plans are going to be at zero, and redevelopment is going to be the only thing that we have that'll be able to increase our tax base. So we wanted to make sure that they took a look at, how could we perhaps tweak our zoning to enhance higher and better usages within the existing zones. Also noting that residentially, we're pretty well built out, and we did talk about the influx of migrants at the present time. We went by the hotel down on Fortune Boulevard, indicated that, right now, due to conditions, there's a school bus that stops here, and it takes about 20 minutes for that bus to unload, because the whole bus is just dropping off at two hotels in town. And it's certainly not a situation that we want to continue downstream, but the school system is highly taxed right now, and that's something that's going to need to be addressed as part of the plan going forward. We also did talk about the fact that Milford has been a town that has gone through a number of different ethnicities coming into town, and it's always been a part of this town, and it's part of what's made this town what it is. So it's certainly not something that we're shying away from. So anyways, that and again, you can look at where we went, but I mean, we hit most of the highlights of both residential and industrial development in the town. They will reach out to, they're coming in, I believe the next meeting they will be in to talk to us in terms of where do we go from here, how do we go through the process. And effectively what I see that process is they will start coming to us as to people that they want to talk to. Obviously, they're going to need to talk to the select board, school committee, the water department, sewer department, all those things, historic commission, redevelopment, Larry and Liz obviously as well. So they're going to try to start setting up those types of meetings as we move forward. Obviously we have the committee, and they'll start setting up meetings And we'll start that as being the first agenda item on our meetings for some of those committee meetings, so we'll have hopefully people coming in, but we'll see how that works out. But that's the plan going forward. I don't see them, and again, this is me, this we didn't talk about, but I don't see them engaging the public, shall we say, until they get further into the process, till we have an idea of where we're going, and they get a better flavor for what the elected officials in town see as us moving forward, and then I think they would try to engage the public. Obviously, then at that point, try to go through and do a draft plan and stuff, and then put that out and get comments from, again, the elected officials and then from the town, and then finalize the plan moving into probably next year. So that's pretty much what happened. Again, it was I think it was worthwhile. They certainly got a better idea of the town. The people that we're dealing with, although we're using the same firm, are all effectively new people. So they don't have an understanding of the town. I think there was one person that was from Holliston that was there, but I mean, the other people are more towards Boston. So it was important to get them to have an idea of the town and how it's been built out and stuff. Anything else? Anybody have any questions for me about that?
Thanks for the update.
Well, that was the last thing, so I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Joe.
Motion by Joe to adjourn. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Second by Babe. All those in favor will signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's unanimous at 4. Good night and thank you.